some question about whether it was a meeting or whether it was not a meeting. And the League of California Cities Guide with respect to understanding the Brown Act explains that transparency is the foundation for ethical government practices, and that the Brown Act is a floor and not a ceiling for conduct. And the Brown Act allows the legislative body to adopt practices and requirements for greater access to meetings for itself and its foreign committees and bodies that are more stringent than the law itself requires. Any interested person, including a district attorney, may seek to invalidate certain actions of the body on the ground that they violate the Brown Act. And there are times when it may be preferable to reconsider noticing and rehearing rather than litigating an item of significant public interest, particularly when there is any doubt about whether the open meeting requirements were satisfied. Training and exercise of good judgment can help avoid Brown Act conflicts. If an arguably meritorious procedural challenge is raised, it may be more prudent to voluntarily renotice and reconsider the action subject to the challenge. So based on those points, I suggest that out of an abundance of caution and to avoid the perpetuation of controversy, that we table approval of the minutes of that gathering and prevent that vote from being invalidated. And that the prudent course of action is to vote on the motion that Richard Welsh put forth on the agenda tonight, so that there can be no question that we're voting on this matter in a duly noticed meeting. We've had a lot of disharmony and dissent related to this, and emails were sent out by some of the board members saying, can we get past this? Can we do trust? Can we come back together as a board and operate harmoniously? And so in that spirit, I was very pleased that Richard put forth the motion, and I'm hoping that we can just avoid all conflict by just voting on it tonight and having it be a solid vote at a clearly, properly noticed meeting without any question and without ever saying whether it was or wasn't. No judgment with respect to that, just saying, let's do it tonight, let's make it right, let's make it count for our stakeholders. And I think that's the make a comment? So,
can I modify my agenda card, my comment card, because I did not notice this item?
I didn't notice what item.
Is he co-running the meeting?
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Alex has a comment, please.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying, and I think procedurally it's probably prudent. And I don't know if we're going to have to rehash why things didn't happen when they should have happened on the 7th. Is this maybe a reason to move ahead, which I understand will be more effective? I'm just trying to find out when we're going to have the time to find out what exactly happened and why things didn't get posted when they should have, because the meeting did get announced and people did attend and we had stakeholders there. And I would just like a quick answer. I don't need to go through all the rigmarole. What happened? If anyone could just shed some light on it. Thank you.
I think we're going to be able to hear some information from Semee after this.
Well, but we were the ones that actually executed.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
You said you were done. Okay.
No, I didn't say I was done.
We weren't expecting a comment from Rita to kick off the meeting. Again, we're caught off guard. That was
Let's
to
have
go
some
around.
clarity first.
Guys, we're not going to get out of control here. Let's all just try to go with it. Okay?
We had an agenda and we were surprised.
I understand.
Okay.
Rita's the idea of whether or not to approve the minutes is on there. Rita made a comment as to that. That's not out of the ordinary. That's not crazy. Okay? Eric, would you like to say something?
I would move that we approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Anyone opposed?
Does anyone have anything?
I'm here. Sorry.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
There's a motion on the floor, or we need to either discuss it, vote on it.
So we could discuss it.
Yeah, just
Want a subsequent vote?
I would be happy to explain why I made the motion.
Okay.
Because this meeting was noticed according to our rules. If there were some objections to that, which we've heard about in the community, those were discredited when many of us saw that it was posted on the website. That seems to be the one little piece that was in controversy, but we witnessed it. And if there was a problem with it being posted to our website, as there are numerous problems with our website, that is not what the Brown Act requires. The Brown Act requires that we post it at the physical locations. That's the most important thing. It's true what Rita said, that there are other things, and we did all those things, including sending it out to an e-blast to everybody in our list. That there's not much better outreach that one could do. So that's why I move that we move forward with minutes. Richard's motion is on the agenda. We can also pass Richard's motion. There's nothing that says one motion is different than the other. They are different. And we all read very carefully the first one and voted on it, those of us who could make it. And those who want to challenge it have a right to do so if they want to. There has been no formal challenge launched. And certainly, the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment did not put that on our agenda or advise us that they were challenging that. So I don't think we have to speak for Semee in advance. You don't know what Semee's going to say, and if you do, you should have shared it with us. So I would just simply move that we approve it. We could also approve Richard's motion if people like it, and that's my motion. He seconded it, so we should vote. If other people want to speak, of course, we should hear from everybody.
Without commenting on the merits of the motion, rigmarole is what bureaucracies like the city of Los Angeles do. You can't get rid of that, really.
Would it be worthwhile to have Semee come up now? I mean, I know it's before her.
Let's say we vote for the minutes.
Well, there is a motion on the floor currently.
Okay.
Heidi has a
Well,
question.
I now realize that that's that the motion is part of the minutes. So that's where I got a little confused. So I understand.
Okay.
And if the motion's on there tonight, I'm good with passing that one. If the other one's going to have some baggage, that.
Yeah, I'd like to
That's what I'm trying to
call the
avoid,
question.
is any problem.
Alex has called the question, so.
Can we go to vote, please?
on that.
But did you accept that he called the
Aye.
question, or do we have opportunity for discussion?
Enough people have not had opportunity for discussion. If more
It's
people.
my understanding, and that once the question's been called, we vote on whether or not to vote. So that's what we should do right now, correct? Yeah.
If there's a.
So right now, the vote down the line of whether or not we should vote immediately on Eric's motion.
Who's calling the vote? Passing the minutes?
We're voting to vote on what?
Yes.
On
Approving the minutes.
We're voting to vote to approve the minutes.
Right, where that is the motion on the floor.
Once the question's been called, discussion's done.
On the minutes.
If it passes.
So who's going to call the roll?
All in favor of passing the minutes, please raise your hand.
It's, yeah, this is.
Anyone understands what?
No.
We're voting on the minutes.
If it's not going to be a good
Right.
motion, why are we voting on it? If
That's
it's
right.
What
going
are
to
you
get
talking about? The
challenged.
minutes are being approved.
Okay,
If somebody
time
wants
out,
to
please.
challenge that.
Time out, please.
For a point of clarification.
That is not, Richard's
Hold on,
motion
let's
comes
have-
back,
Excuse me,
even if someone
please.
wants to challenge it.
Eric, let's have Semee just
So
talk real
for
quick.
point of clarification, you guys are only voting on the minutes, so
Right.
just read the minutes. If you have amendments to the minutes, please make them, but you're approving the minutes as a whole because there's no other corrections needed to be made.
That's,
Correct, we're
that's
just
it.
voting on the
That's all we're
minutes, like
trying
we
to
do every
do.
week.
All we are trying to do is approve the minutes for 3 meetings. We have had no dissension on those minutes.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
we have a motion on the floor to approve minutes.
Correct.
Everyone who wishes to approve the 3 meeting minutes, please raise your hand.
We had voted already on the 2,
Okay.
so now this is just the 1.
That's all the-
So we're
Okay.
approving those minutes.
10
All
ayes.
right, so, okay, are you, okay, all right.
Because I know what's going to happen as a result. So I tried to avoid.
That was item number 2.
That was a long item number 2.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to thank everybody for attending. We have an item on our agenda tonight that we hope will take care of some of the confusion. We have stakeholders who are not sure if a vote occurred and when it occurred and why it occurred. And for their sake, if nothing else, we need to come together as a board and hold a vote out in front of everyone, giving everyone the opportunity to vote their conscience and, give everyone the opportunity and our stakeholders an idea of what it is we do. So without further ado, We're going to go to public comments.
You get called.
Okay, you going to turn one in? Here, add you to the list. All right, thank you, sir.
Since you're there, go ahead.
Anybody
We'll
else
start with
want
you.
to turn in, please do so.
Howard, Howard,
Ketchum. Yes, I am the neighborhood council budget advocate for Region 4. Well, thank you.
No suit and tie today, Richard?
No. Actually, all day it was. At any rate, I'm Howard Ketchum, the budget advocate, or one of the three for Region 4. I am working with and covering for this term my own council, which is Sherman Oaks, Studio City, and Valley Village. So I will be here from time to time, giving you updates. And as a regular course through this year, through this term, I'm going to be sending to your budget advocates meeting minutes after every budget advocate meeting. Just to make you aware, the budget advocates meet twice a month. The first Monday of every month at 7 o'clock up in the Dunn office at City Hall, and the third Saturday of every month at 10 o'clock in the morning over in the West LA Municipal facility there. The meetings are open to the public, open to the board, of course, and to any stakeholders who are of interest. And I would address or direct you all to get a better understanding of the work of the budget advocates, what we've done, what we plan, and also our meeting schedule is posted on our website, and I'll share that with you. It is ncbala.com. Again, ncbala.com. And I'm very pleased to have been re-elected as a budget advocate for the area. We had an initial plenary session, which took place back in July. And we are now starting to gradually gear up. We now have chosen our committees that we'll be working on. This term, I will be working with the City Clerk Committee, Rec and Parks, and I will be chairing the committee on building and safety. As a result of all the work that we do, the hundreds of hours that we put in, is collated into what will be our white paper. And for those of you who don't know, you can reference the website for past white papers. The white paper will then be delivered to the mayor in a meeting and discussed, and subsequently to the City Council Budget and Finance Committee, and finally to the full City Council. I'm proud and pleased to say that the input that we have had on behalf of stakeholders, neighborhood councils, and things that we have recommended on our own, over the past 5 years, approximately 40 to 50% of the recommendations that we have made have either been already adopted and or are in the process of serious consideration. So the work that we do is very meaningful, and it's very instructive, and it's extremely important, and I emphasize the word important, that we have feedback from the neighborhood councils and particularly your stakeholders feeding through you. So I will entertain any questions if there are.
Yeah, it's just public comment right now, so we don't do questions. But thank you very much.
If you will give me a heads up when you come back,
Yes.
you're going to come again, I will put you on the agenda and you will be able to take questions, okay?
Okay, very good.
All right.
I had written an email to the budget reps,
Okay.
but I shall notify you as well.
Excellent, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Barry Johnson?
On March 17th of this year, the baseline machinization and baseline hillside machinization ordinances became law. And unfortunately, when that legislation was done, there were 3 areas, Studio City, Sherman Oaks, and Valley Village, that were all under the Studio City RFA. And the legislation was supposed to remove the RFA from those 3 areas because the new baseline mansionization for the flats is more restrictive than our old RFA. Sherman Oaks and Valley Village were taken care of. By oversight, we were not. So right now, the flatlands of Studio City are the only place in all of Los Angeles that is not under either the BMO or the BHO. So Councilman Krikorian is trying to rectify this, and you may have gotten a hearing notice in the mail today if you're in a single-family home and you live on the flats of Studio City, and there will be a hearing on September 11th. It basically just said we're trying to fix an oversight that wasn't taken care of, and we need to be taken care of and we can't be on a different playing field than the entire rest of the city. Even the hillside of Studio City is protected, but the flats aren't. So just wanted to let you know, if anybody got this in the mail, don't be alarmed, and please support us being under the same rules as everybody else. Thanks.
Thank you.
I will in the future pay more attention to which agendas you people are approving. This is not what I planned on talking about, but it's obviously necessary. Let me correct the lies that have been put out in the public, both on the internet and here tonight. Your meeting of August 7th was not properly noticed. The agenda was not posted to the website until Monday afternoon, not Sunday evening like it was supposed to be done. The fact that the meeting was occurring is not properly noticed on the website. The meeting also was in violation of Article 8, Section 2 of our bylaws. Only the president can approve agenda. She was not given the agenda until after it was sent out. She had to ask for a copy of the agenda to send an email blast out. The meeting was canceled by the president, the director of the city. That's her prerogative and her duty as president. People have claimed she lacks the authority to do that, but people who made this fallacious claim have not bothered to come up with actual sites for their rights. And the meeting was an ADA violation because held in location was not ADA compliant. It's 4 good reasons why it should have been canceled. You guys can expect legal action, both as a board as individuals. Furthermore, every alleged act can be overthrown, as the act you're planning on doing tonight can be overthrown. You know, you couldn't have provided better support for Harvard Westlake with this stupidity than they could have hired. That's assuming, of course, certain parties who were involved in doing this weren't actually paid to do this. Of course, I never triggered the malice, but been adequately explained by stupidity. And as we've seen for the last year and a half, there's an ample supply of stupidity in certain court parties of this board. No love, me.
Anyone else?
That concludes public comment. Thank you. We have Jessica.
All right, Jessica, you want to come up?
She wants to go home.
I haven't been home yet. I clicked to change. Oh, there's one? Hello.
We have 15 minutes for this item, everyone.
I don't know if I can keep you that interested, but I will attempt to. My agenda's getting longer and longer as I stay longer in the job. So first I'll go over the hot topics. I actually asked Carr to be here tonight to address the issues with the hearing that happened on August 8th, and I did not receive a response from him, email, text, or voicemail. So just to let you guys know, you're not the only ones.
Did you mean Carl?
So he attended that hearing. I have not heard anything since he returned from the office. That is all I can say at that point. I do know that the next step is September 28th will be the first decision that will be made by the Planning Commission at that point. That meeting, I am going to request to be able to attend. So, and I will speak to Josh about it if there's an issue. And I also will let you know that miraculously, I received my first thing from Harvard Westlake Live in the mail.
First what?
My first piece of mail from Harvard Westlake appeared. And of course, it said, if you have any issues, contact Mr. Engelberg, who, you know, doesn't ever respond to anything I ever email him with. I just thought that was interesting. I wanted to throw that out there. you guys have, in the letter it said myths and facts about Harbor Westlake. I'm assuming most of you probably got it. It's basically a copy of everything that was sent to the neighbors. The next thing on the list I have is the City Gym project. So just to paraphrase, the third and final Fugate meeting took place on Thursday, July 20th at Beaton Park. The board members approved the project with the changes that were made from the last one, and also the change of the color of the building from red to green. I emailed a copy to Semee and to the Diamonds to post wherever. I'm still working with Ian to post it online. It's not a top priority right now, so I have a copy of it. I was trying to put it down in color, and I broke my printer at work doing it, so I have a copy here that I'll just leave in the back. It's not in color. And for anyone else who wants a copy of it, you can just email me and I'll email it to you.
It'll go out in the e-blast to everybody.
What's that?
I said it will go out in the e-blast
Oh,
to
yeah,
everybody.
yeah. As far as posting on the website, though, the communication director said it will up right now. But I can send it to anybody who wants it, essentially. Let's see. But just to remind everyone, I think I was clear last time, there's a massive shortfall. So as to whether this project actually occurs will be shocking. The next issue that has been very, 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 my email inbox is like over 1,000 emails as a result of this issue. DWP, people are receiving a lot of notification for their massive pay rates from bills, like say going from $800,000 to $800 to $2,000. Ron Drescher made me aware of this matter, and I've been on top of it. I actually met with the representative this morning, Anthony Maxey, who replaced Berenice Barajas. I gave him really what's happening, and I'm going to send him a list. I have a massive Excel spreadsheet of all the names and account numbers. And I asked him to attend next month's meeting, and so he'll be here next month to address anyone who has any questions, issues, whatnot, and so you can send that in your email. So when I get a confirmation from him and a date, you can put it in your email blast, and I'll attempt to put it in mine because I really want people to know to be here for that. And homelessness issues, thanks with help with Sean, who's our lovely senior lead officer, and park ranger Albert Torres. The encampment from LA River, on the LA River from Valley Heart to Laurel, was cleaned up as of August 10th. I've been working on this since I started. Lovely Miss Villa took me on a tour of the encampments, both visible and very well hidden. In terms of also, like, there's trash everywhere, there's debris, graffiti, you name it. And I asked Albert Torres, since it is recreational park property, to handle it. He said he took care of it, so I'm going to go out probably next week to see if it's up to my standard, and if it's not, then I will contact our nonprofit to have them go out and fix what I want them to fix. Another lovely news, I'm sure everyone knows DOT Susan Eisenbarth retired. Lovely, lovely lady, Pennsylvania native. She, before she left, she did a couple of projects, but I don't hear about them until I get calls from people. She doesn't email me to tell me she did them. Up in Laurel Canyon, at the intersection of Laurel Canyon and Mulholland, it merges from 2 lanes to 1. And people were using that, it's a turn lane essentially, turn right and then go straight. So people were using the turn lane to cut across all the people, causing a mass backup. So she installed, again with Officer Smith's help and also Officer Roush, she installed bollards, I don't know if I'm saying right, bollards, to prevent them from doing that.
That looks good.
Essentially. So, God bless her for that. And last but not least, Williker Park. I have flyers. I also emailed those out to Denise. The parking lot at the bottom was resurfaced and striped. And the park will be closed from September 5th to January 5th for renovation. So they're going to add bathrooms and ADA compliance stuff. So I'm going to go out with her and tour the park, because this will cause, I'm sure, some fun stuff for other areas, but we won't have to do it. My old area. Because they're redirecting people to another park, to other parks. while that closes. So I'm sure you'll probably get emails from people, and if you do, send in this flyer. If they have any questions, like, where else do I go? You can email me and I can tell them certain spots around New Canaan that I'll love them to go. And the flyer, oddly enough, does not have the address of the park owner. And last but not least, LA Riverworks wanted to host a movie night, which is this Friday at 8 o'clock. We said, sure, this is their thing, this is not our thing, but I have to be there because I have to set up and it's my area. So I'm gonna leave these flyers here if anybody wants to go. Cool beans. It's staying for kids. And I think that's about it on my agenda.
Do we have public comment?
Sure. Harry Johnson.
It'll be interesting to see how long it takes for the bollards on Laurel at Mulholland to be hit, because we've done them other places and they've been hit.
Like Colfax?
Yes.
There's two left.
The thing is, at Colfax, though, the little anchored bases are now securely there, so even if they hit the plastic, they could do tire damage by going over those. And just one other observation, everybody that's called you on their DWP bill,
Yes.
the bill they got was for June and July, which we had a lot of hot weather. I mean, it's to be expected, and then if rates were a little higher, I think people have gotten out of water conservation that they might have been more tightly focused on a year ago. So I think a lot of those things are why their bills look a lot higher.
I agree with that, but I still need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're getting a lot of calls. I'm mostly, in the office, I'm the only one that's getting a lot of calls. Oddly enough, it's just looking to be Studio City. I know I spoke with him and he said that in other areas he's been getting calls, but in our office, just me, just Studio City, for some reason. I forwarded a couple to CD4. But
I think it's because there's probably more use of air conditioning in Studio City than, say, North Hollywood.
Exactly. The valley is ridiculously hot.
Richard?
A couple of things. One, historically, the DWP has located Studio City in the wrong climate zone or whatever they call it. Second of all, our bill went up $400 or so for the time period. We don't have air conditioning, so don't blow that smoke in my direction. Other than that, you've been doing great work. I'd say you know Jeff is at it, but who is? But I'm saying you've been really good at everything I brought to your attention.
So sweet.
I'm a woman.
No, I want to thank you and the rest of the staff up there. Every time I call, they're on the job and they get it done. So it's a thankless task, but you do good work.
Do we have? That's all right. All right, does anyone here have anything, Eric?
I have a quick question. On Ventura Boulevard near Marshall's, it seems like there's a project that's underway right now. Is that, what is that?
The sidewalk installations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's going all the way to Vineland, or how does it work?
I don't remember specifics. Good question. I should have probably prepped that with me.
Is that corridor? Do you know?
Because I knew the council member was going to bring that up on Saturday at the street festival for Studio City. He's going to talk about that in particular because I already had the
Okay, and you mentioned there was a park closure. Which park are you talking about?
Williker Park.
Oh, Williker, not, okay, where's
Right.
somewhere?
Fryman.
Fryman, yeah.
Well, Fryman's going to be closed. Okay,
Yes.
go.
And I'll leave these flyers in the back for everyone.
And you'll send along the pictures from the LV knot?
Yes. So I already sent this to Denise. I have this copy here. I tried to print out enough copies for all of you, and then I broke my printer.
But you have it on digital, and you could send it.
I can just email it to you. It's
Yeah,
easy
perfect,
thing.
that'd be
Yeah.
great. That's
Then
great.
it comes in color.
Thank you.
Does anyone else over here have?
Yeah, so timeline question. So the Harvard Westlake final meeting is September 28th. So our councilman will announce the project on September 29th.
I don't know.
That's all.
Anyone else over here with anything?
I'm good. Thank you, Judge. Thank you.
Does anyone else? Alex?
The councilman had mentioned that he would take a position on the Harvard Westlake project because he didn't have all the information out until the FEIR has come out. Well, the FEIR has come out now, and do we have a position from the council then?
I'm assuming that's my car hasn't called me back yet.
What?
I'm waiting on car
Okay, well, you know, he is our councilman.
You're right, he
And
is.
many people, and first let me also.
And I'm your council rep, so understand when
Right.
you're talking to me. So like,
Let me first say, Jessica, thank you.
Mhm.
You're an incredible breath of fresh air as to what we had before.
Oh,
Jeff, is it whoever, you're great, thank
Thank
you. I just want to start with that.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Going back to what I said though, we've been hanging on as a community for about 3.5 years. And you know, the councilman, this is what we get, you know, just a poker face. I don't know how much else we need as information. You've seen the vastness in opinions.
Oh yeah, I got a ton of emails.
Right? It's pretty clear what people are thinking. And so I'm just wondering why our councilman, if he hasn't yet made a position, when can we expect that? And when can we expect an answer as to when to expect it?
Sure. So,
Thank you.
no problem. Based on my experience here, I've been told from some City Hall staff that they have been getting more pros than cons. In other words, more people in favor of the project than against it. With that said, I'm in the field, okay? They're in City Hall. So in the field, I've been getting the opposite.
Pro?
Yes.
From?
I don't know. This is what I'm just telling you.
People are in favor, more in favor.
So, but I'm in the field, right? And from the field's perspective, that's not what I'm receiving. So my job is to report that to City Hall. So I will be stopping to Carr's office since he's not responding to me on Thursday. And I'm going to speak to Jackie tomorrow. And hopefully Carr will respond to me, otherwise I will be going to hearing.
Okay, but I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sure.
You're saying pro?
Yeah, so I was told
Can
that
you be more specific? From what entities?
they're just saying they received more people in favor of the project.
That's a bold lie.
Who's they?
That's a who's they.
It doesn't really matter.
Sorry, but you can't just stand out here and just say something that's absolutely ludicrous.
That's what I'm told.
By who?
By who?
City Hall staff.
Guys?
No, this is important.
She's not at that level.
I understand, but I'm glad you mentioned
Yeah,
that.
so-
I think that sends a message to everybody here
No.
that this could possibly be a huge setup.
No.
And we're not going to stand for a huge setup.
No. You don't understand. So let me explain a little background about myself, okay?
And this isn't directed
No,
at
no,
you.
no, I know this. But trust me when I tell you, okay? I'm not ignorant. I'm an East Coaster, so sometimes you can't throw me in a job and expect me to like light on fire. I'm seriously going to have a conversation with people and let them know that perhaps they don't know, and the problem is they may not know because there's not been anybody in my position for a while, right? So I'm going to enlighten them that since I've been in the job, this is what the position is out in the field. I'm just going to give it to them straight, and then we'll have a conversation, and then I will get back to you. Like, you have my word.
Can I just, when you say people at City Hall are getting pros, is that mostly like emails?
I would send emails and calls.
Because emails, like anybody can make multiple email addresses and send a whole
Correct.
bunch of things,
Yeah.
and it would make it seem so.
But, correct, but let me also be clear,
Yeah.
I get emails, and unless it says Studio City representative and their address, I assume they're not Studio City residents. And people do it. People send us emails all the time. I got emails at 3 in the morning from people. I don't know who they are. They're not going to be included in anything because they don't put their address in.
Yeah.
So, and that would be the same in City Hall.
I got you. Okay.
So, yeah, I literally got emails at 3 in the morning. And no, I do not respond to those. I respond to some meetings.
So I'm sorry to close then. So we will get an answer as to when the councilman will take a position after the FEIR has been released, correct?
I'm gonna speak to Jackie first, and then I'll go from there. And I will let Denise know.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Jessica.
No problem.
That's good.
You're welcome.
Pro.
I have one quick question.
Sure.
So with Williker Park, are all entrances into the hiking area closed?
As far as I know, so what I'm gonna, as far as I know, yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna take a tour with her next week, so she can give me an idea on the ground as to what exactly is going to be closed. I have the flyers. This is what she gave me, so this is what I'm.
So I hand them out, we'll do it.
Can I get one of those?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Jessica.
No problem. I'll leave this. You want to leave it with you, or? And then I'll leave it with you tonight in the back.
See?
All right, folks, all right, all right. Good evening, everybody. Sunny Park Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. Here, let me kind of open it up and say, here at the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, we do not pick sides. All right, so we're here to serve the whole board. So let's kind of make it very clear. I'm not here to pick sides. I'm just here to present information and to provide you guys with recommendations. Okay. So with that said, I don't know if the board has questions that you want to ask, or how do you guys want to have this discussion?
About what?
We didn't, the president invited you, so she might have questions. We didn't invite you.
No, but, I mean, I would like to hear what you have to say.
About what? But she's asking us if she wants to receive.
Is there something we'll be?
Are you presenting anything, or?
No, I don't have a
We
presentation.
seem to have had a lot of questions regarding, the meeting on the 7th. Semee was invited here to answer people's questions. There seems to be a lot of questions about posting and what we have to do to post and what isn't posted and time frames and all of that. So she's just here to answer questions, explain what Bob's rules are, and those type of things. I just invited her here to answer any questions. Mr. Welch.
I have a question. Just in regards to what you've seen, what you know about what has transpired in this neighborhood council over the course of the past couple of weeks, what do we need to do to give ourselves the best opportunity of having our voice heard and validated on this issue of the Harvard-Westlake project?
You're doing it right now. Because as the Studio City Neighborhood Council, you guys have discussed items. Let's take Harvard-Westlake, for example. You have it agendized, you have a discussion, and you guys vote as a board. That is one formal mechanism in which you can voice your position about the project. Now, you also do have the ability to provide public comment in an individual capacity as well.
Okay, thank you.
A procedural question, because we were never really trained, so we're all kind of stubbing our toes. At least I am. Can anybody call a board meeting?
No. So I do have your bylaws printed, and according to your bylaws, it does state. And are you guys aware of your operating procedures as well?
I think so.
We know they exist.
Yeah. So I would highly recommend you guys, everybody, take a look at your bylaws. You guys also have a second set of rules, your operating procedures, also known as standing rules, depending on which neighborhood council you speak to. So I'm going to refer to who sets the agenda, okay? And this, I'm just going to walk you through that process.
Not who sets the agenda, who can call.
Oh, who can call the meeting? Well, you call the meeting by setting the agenda, right, and doing all of the posts.
Can any of us, if we have the desire, can we call and post for a meeting?
No, because according to your bylaws, the president shall set the agenda for each council board meeting. Now, if you look at your operating procedure, there are also other mechanisms in place where the president sets the agenda, and there's all of these rules and how you post. Now, if you're asking about who called the meeting on Monday, the 7th, right? What it is you guys all received the email about the hierarchies of rules and policies and procedures, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if you actually look at that, it does say that state law trumps neighborhood council bylaws, right? And according to the Brown Act, a majority of the board can call a meeting. Okay, so that's what I've observed has happened on the 7th.
So I want to get that voice that was a legitimately called meeting.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So when you say...
Okay, you know what, Denise, I'm going to turn to you and you pick the speakers.
Okay.
All right.
Just a minute.
Patrick?
No, I'm good actually.
Okay. Could I amend with the question that was brought up, since we're on the tail end of that? So basically, effectively, any member of the board can call a meeting as long as they have a majority that is willing. But the thing that we have an agenda that has to be placed by the president, is that a check and balance? Because effectively what we're doing is saying that you really don't have free will to call a meeting if the president doesn't allow it or doesn't care to present an agenda, unless I'm mishearing this. So so we have an illusion of an ability to raise a meeting. Is that correct?
How so?
Well, if we don't have an agenda approved by the president and we want to have a meeting with or without the standing president, we can't. Even though you just stated with a majority we can call a meeting. So what kind of a meeting can we have without an agenda? So what I'm saying, it's a little confusing because we really don't have what we think we have.
So if you're proceeding under normal circumstances, you follow your bylaws, you set the agenda, you follow all of the bond posting requirements. Now, in this case, the majority of the board got together and called the meeting. Now, let's say hypothetically, the meeting was called and quorum didn't show up, right? Then the meeting in effect has not occurred.
The quorum did show up.
Right, and that's why the meeting proceeded.
Okay, so.
Was it a legal meeting?
It was a legal meeting.
A legal meeting.
Correct.
But not in accordance with our bylaws.
Because quorum was held.
Right.
But it wasn't according to our bylaws, but as she said, our bylaws are trumped by state law.
Right.
Well, but state law,
Yeah.
like I read before, is
Yeah.
meant to be a floor, not a ceiling. And state law, specifically the Brown Act, and the League of Cities very clearly weighs in on this, it says that you can use that, but then any body can set additional regulations. And this body has additional regulations in its bylaws and operating procedures. So although we had a meeting in accordance with the Brown Act, we had a meeting that violated our bylaws and operating procedures. It violated the operating procedures because the president didn't set the agenda. It violated the bylaws because we didn't meet the bond posting requirements. And the bond posting policy, which Semee had sent out to us, clearly indicated that that policy, once it was issued, became part of our bylaws. So what happens in that instance is, although we have a legal meeting, we now have a situation where this board has now today validated the fact that we can have grievances filed against us for violating our operating procedures and for violating our bylaws. And that's required to be accepted under the grievance methodology set forth in the bonk policy. And I actually checked with bonk on that before I made this statement tonight, because I thought it is much better if we come together as a body and forget everything that happened and just try to get things right and try to make this vote be what we want it to be and move forward. I mean, that's what Keith had sent out. That's what Rob had sent out. I mean, a number of people are saying, let's come together, let's do it right, let's make it valid, instead of opening ourselves up for grievances. And that's what's recommended from the League of Cities. That's why I read that at the very beginning, to just like avoid all problems. Let's just put the motion on the agenda and do it. And that's what we've done. We put it on the agenda, and we could have voted on that tonight, or we probably could still vote on it tonight. But we've now opened ourselves up for the filing of these grievances.
By validating these minutes,
That's my point, is that what we've done is we've said that we are effectively violating our bylaws and our operating procedures. And Semee has said that. We have violated our bylaws, we violated our procedures. We didn't violate the Brown Act. We also...
So let me make this clear. I'm not making any determination.
She said it was a legal meeting. That's what she
said.
You said it violated the bylaws.
Yes.
Here, let's pause.
Let's
please.
You'll have your chance. Semee was about to say something.
She just went on and on and on for the record.
So is it possible to have an illegal or a legal meeting that still violates?
So in this sense, what has happened is Yes, some of the bond posting policies were not followed on both ends, right?
And is there
That's
proof
disputed.
of that? There is.
No, there's
And
not.
why were they not followed? Who is the person
Right.
that actually made them not be followed? So we can move on.
website?
Who
did it.
can post the agenda correctly?
Let's get down.
Is it only the president?
So that's a internal board, that's your business of how things happen.
Do we have that in our bylaws or operating procedures as to who is the only person that can post the agenda?
The agenda is posted near automatically every single time. I follow
But
this
this
closely.
time it wasn't.
But this time it wasn't. So that's one answer we would like.
Bylaws
Why
committee
wasn't it?
got,
There's an answer. to
within
it.
hours, bylaws got posted correctly. that
Special meeting.
Sunday.
Every meeting is, it's
And a
timed.
special meeting, that it wasn't a
That
special
didn't
meeting.
occur.
It didn't occur?
There was no quorum.
But the posting was done.
Yeah.
I received an agenda. I posted bylaws because I received.
Okay,
I
so
received-
you did not
Okay,
post the
let
special
me-
meeting. Thank you for clarifying.
Let me-
Post it.
Let
We got it. Moving on.
Let
No
me
further
finish.
questions.
No,
miss.
because what I
There are
said,
no further questions.
no, what I said is,
Time out,
I
guys.
said very clearly, I posted bylaws. And that because the system is that when I receive the bylaws, when I receive any agenda and it has the authorization to post, and from the president, that's when I post. In this case, I did not get an authorization from the president to post. I didn't get
So
it.
you got the agenda, but not the authorization?
I didn't get the agenda.
And this
Well,
is.
no, because I didn't get an agenda until late.
Right, and that's.
No. We
I
have proof.
always-
If you want to dispute it, we're going to show it to you. But you got everybody in the board got the agenda at 4 o'clock. Everybody got it because that's how we did it, and we copied NC Web Corner and NC.
Right,
whatever.
and the web- the web-
It was done to the best of a human's ability, following the simple process.
I didn't say,
Whether-
I
I'm
did not
accusing you of
say it
anything.
wasn't.
No, nor did I, but it's my time, is it not? Just for a minute to respond? Look, there's a lot of passion in the room. I think we're all pulling in the same direction in general. This is the exact reason why the Brown Act exists, so that rules between little parties can't block the body from participating. So what I did, in fact, if you look closely, was I created an agenda. I said I'd love to meet on this, and I sent it to you. You, I believe in writing, but I won't hold you to it, said, hell no, I don't want to do that. That's a dumb, you said it's silly, I think, or something. But anyway, those reactions happened in the email, and then the board spoke, and the majority said, no, we do want to meet on that agenda item. And that's why the Brown Act exists the way it does. And so, obviously, there is a little bit of a clash, and I want to be very clear. If there is somebody who wants to challenge on some merit, with proof and evidence, and of course, this is what neighborhood councils do. There is a process. We've seen this grievance process underway. You need to go through, read it. You sound like you want to pursue that, even though you seem to be on the side of fighting on the same side of the board, but you want to enforce the bylaw. You're welcome to file a grievance. Or if Mr. Adams, who's been very vocal about his concerns as the bylaws chair and live-in of the, he can file it. Anybody can file a grievance because that's our system. But at the moment, the law presides, and we did vote, and we can move forward. I'm prepared to defend the actions that we took trying to get this meeting, and I'm prepared to hear any grievances. That's all I can say. But it's not appropriate to have a grievance meeting now because nobody filed a grievance. So I would say
Nobody here, nobody here is saying anything.
No, I know,
You
but
have a
it sounds like it
meeting.
feels like a grievance.
No.
She's giving it. People are asking questions on something that's not agenda.
Okay.
Can I add something?
It's not agenda.
Yeah.
We're grieving about the
I understand. It was your meeting. You posted everything to the best of your ability. Okay. Did you not post everywhere you could?
We did.
Okay, that's what I said. You posted to the best of your ability. All right. Someone was not available to post to the website, and
That's not in the Brown Act.
I understand.
What do you mean someone wasn't available?
Well, if someone was in a hospital with their parent or was taking their parent to the ER or something like that and was not available to actually post, that is not your fault.
For instance, who are we talking about?
Okay, if Rita's family has her dad is very sick, and was attending to things pertaining to that. Now, whether it's like I don't post to the agendas. I don't post the agendas. That is not, was something that I do. I'm sorry.
You knew, though, that we were in the process, and we were, let me just say one thing. At our last meeting here, our last meeting, we all questioned, on the agenda it was about voting on Harvard Westlake. We had many stakeholders show up that were here to speak to us and tell us how they feel, and we all wanted to vote. And Rita came up and said, no, you can't. There's a process. You have to wait until September. And that was not true. We could have voted then. We could have had our vote in time on the meeting of the 8th, and we couldn't do it. So that is why.
What happened at the meeting?
Before the deadline.
And I totally get that.
So that's
we want to hear this part.
We are trying to do what we're supposed to do, which is to be there for the stakeholders. We have heard everything that we need to hear. We've heard from both sides. We've heard from Harvard Westlake. We've done this. We've listened to everything with an open mind. And clearly, our stakeholders do not want Harvard Westlake project as it is. And Rita kept us from making a vote that night, and we all questioned it. We all wanted to move on it. We were shut down, and that's why we struggled. And Denise knew. I've got lots of emails from Sunday where she stated she knew it was going to happen, and that Patrick should go ahead and represent us. And I've got all the emails. I got the time frame. I've got good luck from Denise. So if Denise knew that we were going to be doing this, why didn't she go, Rita's tied up? There had to have been another way that you're supposed to be there to support our board, and you didn't do that. You weren't there for us.
And the planning commission asked for the Studio City Neighborhood Council. They said it 3 times.
Yeah,
right.
Where is the Studio City Neighborhood Council?
It was so
Where were they?
embarrassing.
And we couldn't go and speak, and we were held back from voting at our meeting that was held.
Every single organization
All right,
spoke.
let's take it back a little bit. So there's a couple of points that.
Let's just go one at a time.
Yeah, they're gonna give them.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Richard's been over there with his hand up for a while.
My question is not whether the electronic posting was adequate or not. I'm making no decision at all. I'm wondering about the physical posting. Our bylaws say posted here, but the meeting was there. Is that a correct posting?
Yes. The meeting, we were supposed to post it at CVS, and they posted at CVS.
Even though it took place at the park, that's still
As far as I know, yes.
This is our
a
traditional
number
post.
of,
Okay.
just asking. I'm not.
No.
So in terms of the posting policy, you post in a pre-designated location regardless of where the meeting is being
That
held.
would be here. Thank you.
Correct.
And I have pictures of that.
Yes, the posting was fine.
So I have another question, the ADA issue. Okay. So from what I understand in my research, the park was ADA compliant. So what is your question? What is your take on the ADA? Because we were told that you shut our meeting down.
So, okay, I'll address both, right? So in terms of the ADA component, I do not have any comments on that. I mean, that is up to the Department of Disabilities, and they will make that determination. So I do understand a complaint is in, and I'll report back in terms of where that is.
Okay, I have a question. Did you know that the elections for the Studio City Neighborhood Council took place at that very park in 2010?
Okay.
Okay.
So
Just,
And then she was going to go with Patricia had another question for her other than the ADA, and then the second part of your question was?
which one?
Did you shut down the meeting?
So here's the
Right,
thing.
I'm sorry. Did you shut it down? 'Cause that's what we were
No,
told.
so here's the thing, guys. As a department or as neighborhood councils, you guys are self-autonomous, you're independent and self-governing, right? So when I sent the email out, a few hours before the special meeting, I said, if posting policies per bonk has not occurred, it's recommended that you cancel the meeting, right? But it's ultimately up to the board to take my recommendations or the department's recommendation and take it one way or another. Now, going back to posting, the same posting policies apply for setting a meeting as to also canceling the meeting, okay?
Has a right to cancel a meeting.
It wasn't posted to the website. The cancellation wasn't posted to the website. Okay, if you read the bond policy on if there's a question about a meeting and it was canceled, and you are supposed to re-agendize that item on the next meeting, which is what we've done. If there is a question, if there are questions about your meeting, whether it's posting, whether somebody's unhappy with that or not, we put this on the agenda to vote on it, so no one can say there wasn't a vote.
The time is of the essence.
Should have been done last
There were deadlines.
Do you see the problem? It's just now we're too late. It doesn't matter. We had the opportunity and we weren't allowed to vote.
It's what they wanted.
It's what they wanted, and now we can't.
And we got a lot of upset stakeholders, believe me.
I would dispute the fact that we're too late. I think we can exercise our strength as a board, a member of the neighborhood council, and weigh in. I think the motion that's on the agenda tonight is strong, forceful, addresses the commission and the planning staff in a way that they won't be able to unhear. And that's part of the reason that motion is designed in that fashion. So I very strongly question the idea that it's too late.
Now, Richard, would this just go straight, if this wouldn't be read at a public hearing, then this would just be sent to them?
I would anticipate that this would be read at the planning commission,
At the commission.
which is the decision point. What we had on the 8th
And that's
was the
September
process
28th or whatever?
That's roughly scheduled.
And who's going to represent? Who's going to read it? We now need to know those facts.
We will establish those facts, and I agree with you. It will be important to plan ahead and understand that. One of the problems, I supported this meeting. I did the agenda for the meeting in the park. When that meeting was canceled, to me it knocked out an important leg of the stool, which is that public participation. I know that Mel Randall was going to go to that meeting, but got notification that it was canceled and didn't attend. So that's why I did not end up attending that meeting. But I did support that action and supported the ability of the board to determine for itself what its message was and how it was trying to find its voice. But to me, once it was canceled, it kind of threw that out of whack. So, but I very strongly considered that occurrence as a clear indicator that the will of the board is to act in advance of the planning commission meeting. And for my responsibility, I will publicly apologize to all of you because I missed it. I didn't have the time to dedicate, and a lot of this we're all figuring out kind of in real time. So yes, we're kind of playing catch up. I don't think it's too late, but I think it's important to stay focused on achieving the result that we need to achieve for our stakeholders, and we can kind of deconstruct this to whatever degree it's useful in improving our performance in the future. That's the important thing.
But isn't the decision September 28th?
Well,
excuse me, I'm trying to get clarity from Richard.
Yeah.
Isn't the decision on September 28th? So when are we going to actually have input to
that's what I'm
affect that decision?
That's what I'm suggesting we vote on tonight. We submit that not only to Milena, the staff planner,
First thing tomorrow morning.
who will be
With an assurance it's been accepted, because we need to go back to the stakeholders and let them know we didn't screw up.
I always get that. I always get a confirmation.
Okay,
When I
that-
send
that-
something to the planning department, I always get a confirmation.
She closed the comments.
She closed
Specifically on the 15th.
Yes,
She closed public.
we need an exception.
Hey, can I continue, please? This is my point of view, but my point of view is that she closed public comments on the 14th, okay? I think that taking action on this now, on our own time frame, and submitting it to the planning department puts our neighborhood council review on par with the planning department's own staff report. It says, no, we're going to do this on the time frame that we have and do what we can do when we can do it, and issue our remarks to the planning commission in advance of the staff report, and also issue our decision or our findings to Milena. And like I said, I think it's going to be very hard for her to unhear what we have to say.
But then one last question, then why didn't we vote on it on the last meeting?
Okay, so
Why didn't we vote on it?
the only person, and again, since I'm...
And that'll be the last question.
No, I mean, I'm happy to take any questions. I don't want to
I'm not
dominate
directing it
this
only at you.
process. No, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. I did not support taking that vote at the meeting that we held that was noticed, I think, to my understanding, to vote on a response to the FEIR. Because it was not clear on the agenda that we were going to take a final up or down vote on the project in toto, that we had deprived perhaps.
There's nothing clear. We didn't even know what the
Let him finish.
We'll bring that up
I'm
next.
simply saying that from my point of view, I did not support taking that vote at that time because we did not have all of the board members in attendance, and I thought we would deprive board members and the public from who might have been, who had something to say in that direction. One of the challenges in this process was making the managing the expectations of the board and of the stakeholders. And again, all I can look at is my performance. What I know now, I would have done things much differently, but we're all doing this in real time.
Why stop? Why stop it? But why stop it?
Ultimately, that wasn't my decision. I'm only saying why I did not, and what
There are people
I said.
crying in the audience for crying out loud.
Obviously, that testimony has had an impact on the board.
On us,
on the board.
which went nowhere.
So, well, thus far has gone nowhere.
Can we just,
What do you want to say, Heidi?
I want to say, can we move forward, and I think we have a lot of stuff to discuss that has happened that I think at a later date we really need to get into. But right now, I would like to move forward and get this motion that the stakeholders are desperate for voted on, and tomorrow morning, please promise us that Milena will get it. Alex spoke to Milena, she's going to have some flexibility. She's going to have flexibility, so she will, I'm sure, accept it.
You didn't ask for it.
So any other questions?
No, guys, we got about 3 minutes left of this evening. If anyone else has anything to say.
Thank you. I'll clarify 3 things.
Okay.
So I want to clarify 3 things. First of all, with respect to the posting. The automatic posting that you are used to seeing, Craig, happens because the process is the committee chairs send in an agenda, and they send it in usually to me and to Denise. Denise then reviews the agenda and approves it. She sends me an email or a text that says, okay to post. The fact of the matter is, with respect to the meeting in Beaman Park, I never got an email that says, okay to post. And I wasn't available that evening on Sunday evening. I had a family thing, and that's just the way it worked out. But if I had gotten a thing that said, okay to post, I would have immediately called somebody and walked them through the process to do it, okay? But I didn't get that. It's not automatic. It's automatic when I get that text. When I get that text or I get that email, I react. And usually she sends a text because I might not be somewhere that I'm email connected. All right, so that's the normal process, and that normal process didn't happen. With respect to the bylaws meeting, for which they didn't have a quorum, that was a special meeting, I did get that text, okay to post. And so I posted that. It was, and that also happened at a different time in the day when I was available. I mean, I did happen to pick up that text, and I did have internet
How come you
connection.
didn't alert the guy who asked that you did not get that okay? How is he supposed to know?
Now?
Right, why
Why did you wait all this time, and why didn't somebody do something even when you got back and said, oh, at 6:02, oh, they should know, because they must have been feeling terrible. And by the way, we weren't feeling terrible, because if the truth be told, and this is on the record, several people at this horseshoe saw a posting on the calendar of this very meeting.
Not at
Yeah,
that
no,
time.
oh, no, yeah.
It was
So that's on the record. So
It was calendar.
Yes, it was calendar.
I calendared it.
And the
was on the calendar.
definitional terms in
Yeah.
bonk, though fascinating to the degree that all of us would go collectively to sleep to go into it any further,
But the agenda.
speak for themselves.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
board spoke as loudly as they could.
I calendared it.
But it is
The
worth
agenda,
noting,
but
it is
she-
worth noting, where could this
Okay.
possible feeling from the city be coming from? And I will just simply quote very briefly from Darren Martinez, who said, please ask the board members to state their specific involvement and positions within the organizations that support or oppose the project. Are the board members attending meetings of these organizations? What types of activities have the board members been involved? Also, what specific public or written statements have been made, and when did these activities occur? I won't go on, but it is very clear that there was a force at play to try to interrupt the local neighborhood from meeting on a very important issue. I'm not accusing you of anything, Semee, that's not you, but that is an ethos that's coming out that needs to be revised slightly toward let the people see it on the agenda, let them discuss it, let them vote, and let's move on. So that's the way it works. Thank you.
Okay.
Back to our meeting on Harvard Westlake. We got there and we were blindsided. Rita did a lovely job doing a whole presentation. Rita doesn't miss a beat. She always sends us the items in advance, the things to review every time there's a motion. We didn't receive one document on the most important issue for Studio City in a decade, please. In a decade, we didn't receive any upfront information. We thought everyone thought, or at least I did, and I'm sure others would agree, that we were voting yay or nay on the project after listening to the stakeholders. But instead, we got Rita reading things for about a half hour, 45 minutes.
We never saw it.
And we never saw it in advance. How is that possible? You can't say that's okay.
So if that does occur, I mean, first and foremost, I mean, it's the responsibility of the whole board and each of you guys as individuals to be informed. So if you don't want to table the item, or if you want to take a certain action, take an action. You know, you don't have to heed the advice of one particular board member. You can take whatever action that you guys want to take. As an individual board.
I didn't have it done. I had it done. I worked really hard the last 2 days for that meeting to analyze
A lot of
the
mitigating
EIR.
stuff in that report, we didn't have even discussed or agreed upon it.
Right.
And
But
Why was it an advisory of
the
one?
point was that we were supposed to have an advisory committee. The advisory committee didn't meet. We needed to present something. I went through, because I was on both of the other advisory committees. The other point is that Eric Previn has over and over and over and over in this room said to us, things shouldn't happen in a small group. Things should happen before the whole board. The presentation should be before the whole board. You don't like it done in the bylaws committee little group or this other, you've said it many times. And given my time frame and my available volunteer hours that I had, I took 2 days out of my work schedule to sit down and put that presentation together so I could bring it to the entire board so the entire board could see and hear what was being said, and then they could decide to submit it or not to submit it.
Hey, she's got the floor.
But here's the point.
Hey, she's got the floor, Mr. Speaker.
Alex,
Mr.
the point is that I then made the presentation to the whole board, and the whole board didn't even want to let me finish making the presentation, wanted to only read the blue parts and wanted to get done and be done. And that's what has happened, and that's what's on the recording. And you can see that that's what went out. And there were a chain of e-blasts that went out to our stakeholders, never saying we were having an up or down vote, but saying that we were going to review the response to the EIR. And every time that we've done this, and every time that we've responded to these, we have responded to, these are the comments that Harvard Westlake has. This is the EIR, and these are our comments. And so we've done that twice. There were 2 letters that we did that on, and what happened at this meeting is I took this EIR and I said, okay, here's the comments they made, here's the responses they gave, and this is how we feel, or the stakeholders are still feeling about these responses. And then I took another day after the meeting when the board had said, okay, we're going to submit the comments. Then I took another day to generate the letter that actually went to the Planning Commission summarizing all of those comments, okay? And that's what went in. And what happened at the Planning Commission meeting, because I listened to the hearing, not Planning Commission, I'm sorry, the planning hearing, the hearing officer meeting, the hearing. Okay, so what happened at that point in time, when they were calling for the SCNC, they were given a comment card, a speaker card for Studio City Neighborhood Council that was by someone who is not on this board. No board member signed that. And so they called 3 times Studio City Neighborhood Council, Studio City Neighborhood Council, Studio City Neighborhood Council, but based on a comment card that was submitted by someone who's not on our board, who had no right to make that submission. All right, additionally, I was at the hospital.
Did the advisory board ever meet? Did the advisory board ever meet?
We met only telephonically, and we met only through email.
Okay, so effectively you never met.
So the
That's all
most
I need to
important
know.
project in our community for years.
Thank you.
Thank
I did.
Thank you.
And
no one reached out to anyone that it wasn't going to meet, and they needed help. No one
Lisa
reached out
didn't
to
give me any
anybody.
help. She
That's
proofread,
amazing.
so I didn't have time. That was
All right, you guys, please direct your comments to the whole board. All right, please direct your comments to the whole board, and let's keep it simple.
I have a question.
Well, first off, Mr. Niederberg.
Oh, I'm sorry, Richard.
Yeah. What concerns me and embarrasses me is the very last thing on the visual record on Facebook or wherever it's at right now is them calling us 3 times and not having a response.
Right.
I find that very embarrassing, and that's the last thing people know about. The paperwork they don't know about, all they know what they see.
Exactly, Richard.
And I was embarrassed by that, calling 3 times and not getting it.
But we were only called because someone not on this board
I understand
put
why.
in
I'm just
our
saying the
name.
effect on the public. They look it up 5 years from now, it doesn't look good.
Who would do that?
I don't know, but if you listen to the tape, I didn't have time to go back and listen to it yet. They gave the name. It was some weird name that submitted this.
Clarify. No, I'll clarify. It's Anthony Braswell.
Okay,
That's another neighborhood council.
It was Anthony.
They wanted to hear from the neighborhood.
But when we asked,
They wanted to.
but I wrote to Anthony Braswell
So
the
my
minute I heard his
question
name.
is, was anyone there?
Yes.
We were all there.
Not in the
Yes,
capacity
they
of
were.
We spoke on ourselves.
Not in our capacity.
As stakeholders?
As stakeholder, not as SCNC.
You're not allowed without the
We did not have
authorization.
the authorization.
Authorized.
I have a
Nobody
text.
was authorized to speak.
I have a text that I asked if someone could have authorization, and she said no. We
Why?
had to sit there.
And that's within your operating procedures.
I'm sorry, Semee, could you repeat that? I didn't hear you.
That's within your operating
It's within
procedures.
the operating procedures for the president to make a decision as to whether or not someone can be assigned.
Correct.
Right. So that was done in accordance with our operating procedures, although the minutes and the meeting and the cancellation of the meeting, and none of that was within our
Well, certainly the
operating
posting
procedures.
was not
And
done
so
because you were at the
here's
hospital.
kind of where it's at, you guys. Anytime a special meeting is called, it's a 24-hour advance, right? And that's a very, very short amount of time, especially if you're looking on a Monday.
Right.
So,
It was circulating on
Paul
Thursday.
was there, everybody was there to
Yeah,
talk
we
about
started working on it.
Nothing changed.
but what
I
I'm
think
saying
you've been
is,
enlightened tonight.
So,
I
but
think
what
you
I'm
really
saying
have.
is, logistically, it can take time, but is there any more other questions from the board?
I have one more thing. So this is in regards, sorry.
No, that's
I got
okay.
moving. So this is in regards to special meetings. So it says that special meetings are held to deal with specific business so urgent, it cannot wait until the next regularly scheduled meeting. So how come you would have posted a bylaw special meeting regarding the elections of 2016?
When there was no
If
quorum.
that was not, there was no quorum and that was not an urgent
What was urgent about that?
and it took our room, it took the
Can I
room,
answer that?
excuse me, I'm
Okay.
not done. It took the room that we wanted to meet at. Okay, so the timeline's a little funny there if you look at when we were
I don't know.
trying to put this together and they
What's
took
the
our
end goal
room
here, guys?
what's the end goal?
for this not urgent.
Okay,
I just wanna bring
except
that
that a special meeting is also, a meeting is also supposed to be called special when it's not been held on the regularly scheduled day. It's not just, I understand that that says emergency, but Semee, will you please clarify that the direction that I've had is that if it is not held on the regularly scheduled meeting date, it is called a special meeting.
Of course, we're not.
Yes, just wait a
That
minute.
is not why
You
this
can also
meeting was.
call a special meeting if you're holding a board or committee meeting not on a regularly occurring day.
And that is what happened with this case. It was called a special meeting only because it wasn't held on the regular day.
It's just sad, that's all. It's fine,
But
whatever.
we have information
But that's not,
on.
that's
Very
not me.
inappropriate.
No,
It's not my fault.
The whole thing.
Right. It's not Denise's, it's not
That
Richard's.
meeting knew there
I think we've kind of.
We got it.
We're
Thank you.
Thank you, Semee.
Do you have 2 seconds? We have 2 public comments. I see people raising.
And point of clarification, Semee, like Semee.
Oh my gosh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry,
So
Semee,
nice to
I
meet you
know.
all, it's good to see you, and I'll be right here if you need me.
Thank you.
Bye.
There are
I think we have 2 public comments.
I'm not doing the back and forth with public comment. Public comment is only directed to the board. The board should not respond, just let the public comment occur.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Semi. Thanks, Patrick. Semi-sweet. No, semi-sweet. Semi-sweet. It's semi-sweet.
Semi Valley.
That's how I remember it.
I'm assuming Gary?
All I was going to say to all of this is that
The sad reality is that Kerkorian is going to make the decision, yes or no, on this. And I don't think anything that this board could have sent already or will send is going to have any bearing. And I think if he ultimately approves it, the only way to stop it is going to be a lawsuit. And that's out of this board's hands anyway, because you're part of the city, you can't sue the city. So, you know, you're going over a lot of ground here, but I think it's all moot. I really do. I think it's already been decided, and I think the people that can sue ought to start getting their apples and oranges together and plan out a strategy, because it's over.
It's been over.
They can learn from their mistake.
What's over?
Yeah, a couple things. First off, I had a quorum for when I called my meeting. I called it on the day I was supposed to have enough people to have it. I didn't know anything else about this other meeting, which was serious church values meeting. And it was something that was going to be brought to this board for valid discussion and possible motion to be brought forth to address some of the issues you people have felt so strongly about since the election. If you want your agenda approved by the president according to the rules, you need to submit it in a timely fashion and not at the very last minute. It also helps you do it in the proper format. The board meeting, you couldn't vote up and down on it because you didn't have that agendized. If that was what was the burning desire in your hearts, somebody should have taken your time to put it forward to the president in a timely fashion so it would be agendized. I find it amazing that you guys took the recommendations of Dunn and the city attorney about your motion for investigations and are like, oh my God, we can't do it because they said don't do it, and yet you want to fight tooth and nail over this stuff. You're hypocrites. It makes no sense, just like some of your children. I find it amazing some of you have been board members for a year and a half and still don't understand the process. It's not that hard. And I have screenshots of the board's webpage. Your playground meeting was calendared but not agendized. That's how we know it really wasn't done properly. All your lies to the contrary. And frankly, you're welcome that your FEIRs and president's letter and everything were submitted to downtown on time, because somebody got to me at the last minute and Friday afternoon instead of staying at home, having a nice afternoon, having a leisurely dinner, and getting peacefully drunk, I had to drive downtown in traffic, miraculously found a professional company to print my stuff when I was desperately trying to find somebody downtown to print stuff. Got it all done up nice and neat, in books and everything, delivered to the city on time, even though I didn't have a parking pass, and got the receipts. And last of all, how many of you helped work on this project? If you didn't help do it, grow up and shut up.
Thank you. Okay, moving on.
Yes. We got a treasurer's report.
I am Rob Schiller, I'm the treasurer.
Hi, Rob.
Okay, this is new now. Everybody has the MER generated online. The treasurer doesn't do anything really much. Yes, Eric?
Oh, no, yeah, I'm agreeing. I want to read that.
So I really don't, the job now is to play catch up. I go online every now and again and I see that there are things that are spent, and my job is now to find out who and please upload the receipt. So not complaining, I'm just saying, I really don't get a chance to be the watchdog over the account anymore. So it's all the charges by credit card or the expenses that are approved go directly to the website, the city office of the clerk, and they approve or disapprove them, and the receipts have to be uploaded before the MER is generated. So your MER has all the receipts attached. You can see what the expenses were for. I went over them and wrote notes on some of them that I had access to. And it's our job to either approve or disapprove this MER. This has the bank account information on it. I don't ever see a bank statement anymore. You know, so this is sort of like, all right, here it is. I wish I had more to offer you. There is one thing I'm trying to correct. They show an outstanding balance of $1,900, which is, they put $200 a month for web maintenance for the next 9 months as a recurring expense, and they show that as outstanding. So if you're wondering why there's $1,900 outstanding, it's not. It's just going to be, let me just finish the report. It's going to be the money we're going to spend on the monthly maintenance, and they put it as a an outstanding expense. So it's a recurring expense. And the last thing about this system is, so the last thing I have to do is, if there's any, I'm sorry, neighborhood purpose grants or community improvement projects, that's now really my primary job, is to help people assemble those, get those submitted, and that goes to the city clerk and done. So that's sort of now what the treasurer job has become. So I'll answer what I can. Any questions on the MER? Yeah.
I can't discern how, first of all, I see the web corner multiple $200 charges, but they look exactly the same the way it says general operations expenditure outreach, just like, reimbursing, or it says office, reimbursing Schwallenberg or Patrice or whoever, me, who got reimbursed. But so it looks like it's being paid.
That's what I'm explaining to you. They show it as because I showed it as a recurring expense, with their transparency, they're letting people know, we have said, the board has approved $200 a month for the next year to Web Corner, and they're showing
But
it
not
as a
to web,
commitment.
for web maintenance, because we can change, right?
No,
That
web
was-
maintenance.
Right, but it says
We can
web
change
corner
it.
maintenance.
We can
This
say
is
no.
what I brought up the other day. Now it looks like it's moving down the road. So this is my only anxiety.
Oh.
I'm just going to be honest. It's a little anxiety. It feels like, and since it's a new system, I'm worried that they're going to say, we paid them in advance, $1,800.
No, they're not paying in
You're
advance.
assuring me that that's not happening.
That's not happening.
Okay, they got $200 for the last month and
Month
next
by
month.
month.
And this
That's
is
why
one
I'm
of the
asking
reasons
them,
why.
I just sent them an email to ask them not to do this. So I'm asking them to take this off, because I don't like it either. I want to know what's
Okay,
current. I
okay,
don't want to
because
know,
it's
I don't
very-
want to look like we.
Especially given what looked like. the
I
web
addressed your
portal.
question. I've sent them an email. I can send you a copy of that email. I don't like it either, because I can't even stay on top of what's current, much less what the future holds.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else, or we can vote on it?
Mr. Duderberg?
Just wanted to say that after examining this stuff electronically and physically, basically, that it does conform with generally accepted accounting techniques.
Okay, if there are no more questions, we have any public comments?
No, that's wrong.
We have Barry Johnson and Richard Adams.
Richard, do you have any comments?
Um,
We just vote.
Can we just vote on this?
No, the only thing I was going to say is in relation, well, accepting it? I got no comments to that. I got motion C.
Well, then,
No, we're-
Okay,
we're on
that- I
C, you
I
can vote.
couldn't tell which one it was.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, motion on the board. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council has reviewed the monthly expenditure report for the July 2017, and hereby accepts and approves. We have to call the roll.
Is this motion A?
Yeah,
This is not motion A. Oh, this is motion A,
It
yeah.
is motion.
Yes, this is motion, call the roll.
Richard Welsh,
Yes.
Alex. Andrew,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Eric,
Abstain.
Richard Niederberg.
Yes,
John is not here. Patrice.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
I am not voting. Heidi.
Yes.
Lisa.
Yes.
Rita.
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Denise.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, that passes.
Motion carries.
All right, before we get to the motions, I want to inform the board, and I already informed the president, that I accepted a job out of town for 3 months, out of the country for 3 months. I'll be gone September 10th until December 10th. It's up to the board, up to Denise, how to handle in the interim. It's kind of been dumbed down at this point, with this, which is fantastic. But I will be back December 10th.
Why can't you fly back?
What?
Why can't you fly back from me?
From Beijing?
Think of the miles you'll earn.
Yeah.
Okay, so motion.
Okay, motion. And we were in discussions because Mr. Niederberg has been the treasurer before. We were going to give that off to him. so he can track on us.
But if anybody else wants it, believe me, I can stay as second signer and kind of audit your work. Seriously.
I think Eric should do it.
Yeah. We're going to go to motion B. The Board of the Neighborhood Students and Neighborhood Council authorizes the payment of $100 to Pedro Martinez for the Green Living Fair setup. This bill came in late, and it was not accepted by the city clerk. I sent it over to you.
Yeah, just look at it.
Okay. Because of the overage in our, so it's $100. The gentleman worked on the setup of the Green Living Fair, and his bill outstanding is $100.
Well, it wasn't because of the overage, it was because for some reason I didn't get the invoice, and they won't pay a bill from last fiscal year. They won't pay it.
When was the Green Living Fair?
March.
So now they'll pay it?
They won't pay it unless the board approves the payment
Okay.
this fiscal year.
Yeah, it has to go in this fiscal year, and we have to approve it. Even though it was budgeted last year, it didn't come in until now, and they refused to pay for it anyway because of the overage.
So should we vote on this?
So we need to vote on getting Mr. Martinez. Okay.
Richard Walsh,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
Okay, so here, Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Here, Patrice. Patrick.
Yes.
Heidi.
Yes. Yes.
Lisa.
Yes.
Rita.
Yes.
Robert.
I think we should pay him more for waiting so long. Yes, poor Pedro should be paid.
Denise? Yes.
Did it fall through the cracks, or did he
Well,
submit
let's
it?
see. I didn't get it till a little bit ago.
We have no idea.
Building coming down.
We never saw it. Okay.
Eat my words.
Yes, motion C. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council authorizes the payment of $2,400 for flashlights and hemp bags for the swag handouts. Due to all of the back and forth of the money we had or didn't have, and the late giving in of bills, we now owe $2,400 that we have to pay this year. Because they didn't go in last year, like I told the lady to put her bills in ASAP.
What? I'm confused.
Okay, we bought swag. And,
Paid for that already, right?
well, not all of it, because the woman didn't put her bills in on time as requested. She was given a deadline. They didn't get in on time, so they were not paid. Now the bills are due, past due, and she'd like to get paid, because we have the flashlights for the Public Safety Committee, and we have the hemp bags to give out at our events.
Public comment.
Public comment.
All right, that answers my first question. And I'm assuming that since we were over at the end of the fiscal year anyway, we ate up the $2,400 someplace
Oh, yeah.
else. My other comment on this is, while I'm greatly appreciative that somebody else is bringing things back to public events like movies in the park, when you bring them back, I took the time out of my personal life to organize the storeroom at ex-president's office. And yet when I came back, there were hemp bags, boxes stacked everywhere, flashers everywhere, pens everywhere. It took a lot of my time to make the place nice and neat. I appreciate you helping out. Don't leave a mess behind. Thank you. Please pay the lady.
Okay, we're going to do a roll call vote, please.
Hold on. I can't write with my left hand. Hold it. All right, stay here. Sorry. Richard Walsh.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Andrew.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Eric.
No.
He's not here. Richard Niederberg.
Yeah.
Patrice.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Heidi.
Yes.
Lisa.
Yes. Not having that.
Rita.
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Denise.
Yes.
Sweet.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
John, this is for the vote.
Mr. Welsh,
Hello?
and land use.
Oh, all right, okay. Thank you. So the first two motions are in response to a campaign by Coalition Conservative LA for transparency in the general plan, the City of Los Angeles general plan amendment process. At our last meeting last Wednesday, we had the pleasure of having Susan Hunter come and make a presentation on the topic to us. We had, which I believe was transmitted to the board, two components. Well, we've broken down into two components at Mr. Niederberg's suggestion that we break down the components of motion A and motion B based on the intended audience for each of those messages, and that there was also attached a sample letter that would potentially accompany those motions. So I'm going to go ahead and read motion A. The Studio City Neighborhood Council requests that all planning department work group meetings about our shared ideas and ideals for the general plan and its many elements be made fully transparent, be set at evening and weekend hours, be open to the public as of now, and invite a representative from each neighborhood alliance, and in the case of the open space work group meetings, 3 of which were completed in closed door sessions, 3 additional open space meetings be held that follow the prescription in this paragraph. That's motion A. So shall we go to public comments on this?
Yes, Jerry Johnson.
Mr. Johnson.
I hope you support both motion A and B. I think it's a statement that this neighborhood council needs to make. And you know, in the case of Hollywood's community plan a couple years ago, they're still being sued for stuff that happened that wasn't, you know, the public wasn't made aware of before they just did it. So I think this is a message but both of these motions will send.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
I basically echo Barry's comments on this. Both motions make perfect sense. Both motions should be unnecessary. I'm sure both motions will be ignored, but it's the same reason you scream and break when you're being attacked. You want to let them know you don't agree with this stuff.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to go to the board. I'll take Richard.
I just want to make sure that we're doing this on the record. Yes, I do doubt if they're going to do much for us, but I think we should go on the record in both cases.
Eric?
I'm sorry, I may be a teeny bit confused, but are we voting on A or A and B? Just A?
Just
Okay,
A for now.
'cause I got a little, can you just summarize it in lay terms? Does this mean more open, transparent meetings and no more closed sessions?
This is in favor of transparency, and there have been some meetings that have gone on in behind closed doors.
Right.
And these meetings, what we're asking is that they be replaced by 3 meetings that are open and transparent for the ones that.
Subsequent meetings?
Subsequent meetings,
Make it
right.
clear what happened in that.
That's correct.
Okay, and do we like to recommend that they not go into closed door sessions on this stuff? Since it's supposed to be an open, transparent process altogether?
We request that all planning department work group meetings about our shared ideas and ideas for the general plan and its many elements be made fully transparent, be set at evening and weekend hours, be open to the public as of now. So yes. Right.
Okay, cool. Let's vote on that then.
Okay. Let's see. We only have to have hands. Everybody in favor of this, please raise your hand. Everybody raise their hand. It's unanimous.
Okay, so the same, now that we have the background, it's the same background for motion B, so I'll go ahead and read motion B. The Studio City Neighborhood Council requests that the Mayor's Planning Task Force and Transportation Infrastructure Steering Committee for the general plan both be made fully transparent, be set at evening and weekend hours, be open to the public as of now, and expand their closed-door meetings to several additional meetings that follow the prescription in this paragraph. Public comments on B?
I think we had
they combined A and B
at the same time.
Yeah.
With the same
And
concept.
I think our comments were on A and B here on the board too, so
Seems like.
why don't we just vote? Now, you all, also, we have one less board member, he had to leave, so we have one less person.
Did he leave? When we voted on A, he was still here, or he was?
No, he was not here.
Right after. Then I need to say he had left the meeting, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Now, okay, everyone in favor of B, please raise their hand. Everybody raise their hand. It's unanimous. Excuse me. All right, now we are to number 9.
Okay.
There's enough comments from everybody.
This is a separate, this is not as part of the land use committee
No,
report. Okay, because I have prepared a preface.
You can do that. You can do
If I
that, please. And it needs to be seconded. I will second it.
Okay, thank you. So, item 9 pertains to the proposed Harvard Westlake PSA project. I just wanted to give a little background on my thinking for this motion. There's a clear desire by the board to speak decisively and immediately about this project directly to planning department staff in order to express the readily apparent will of our stakeholder constituency as represented by the work of Rita Villa in interpreting our official response to the FEIR and our president's letter, both as currently submitted to the planning department. All of this work has been underpinned by applicant and other stakeholder testimony over a series of public meetings, as well as email correspondence received by the board since the release of the FEIR. And in the account that, as of this afternoon, in the account that we have created to receive parallel notification of the letters that people have sent to the planning department, there are 138 emails that have come in, the preponderance of which are in opposition to the project. That's probably 6 or 7 more than when I sent out the PDF and links, I believe, yesterday for the board's review. It is my hope that this motion reflects a concise and unequivocal distillation of these ingredients in a way that takes maximum advantage of the board's opportunity to comment and advise on such matters. But, as ever, I am open to the process of friendly amendment, and I would encourage a period of courteous and constructive discussion prior to seeking a second, as this motion requires. But we've already got the second. We may discuss some amendments, I would expect. With that, I will read the motion. In regards to the Harvard Westlake PSA development, LA Department of City Planning case application numbers CPC 2013-148 VCU and ENV 2013-150 EIR. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, having reviewed the subject applications and having provided ample opportunity for testimony by stakeholders, hereby opposes the project as presented and advises that Planning Department staff should recommend against approval of the project and that the Planning Commission should deny the application in its entirety. Further, the board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council urges preservation of the proposed project site as open space and advises the applicant to collaborate with the community to seek an equitable, effective, and environmentally sound solution to its parking, safety, and athletic facility objectives within the boundaries of the campus as presently developed. So that's the motion, and
Okay,
we're
public
open to
comment?
comment.
Yes. Mel Romano?
Mel, that's you?
Very briefly, I'm here as a resident of Studio City and as a lawyer in Studio City. I support motion 9 very strongly, oppose this project briefly for the following 4 reasons. First, this is not a Ventura Boulevard project. This is on a hillside on Coldwater Canyon, as you know. It would change the character and nature of the hillside, destroying the trees, replacing them with a 3-story structure. 2, the building structure itself is going to create noise from the cars that use it. Noise rises, it'll rise up against the hillside. people live on the hillside. They live up there above, and they don't need the noise. When they purchased their homes, they had no idea that something like this could possibly happen off of a boulevard. 3, the football practice on top of that stadium will create noise. That noise will rise up against the hillside and will be incredibly disturbing for the people that live up there. 4, the lights on top of the parking structure will cause light pollution for the people that live above the structure. For those reasons, I think that this is an abomination as far as it's proposed. I think it should be, as far as it's proposed, and I think it should be opposed in its entirety. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay. Alex, is Becky?
I just want to thank you guys for taking up this motion. I also want to just speak of the last meeting we had when...
Just for the record, if you're a board member, you're not supposed to speak.
I'm recused. I'm recused, actually.
My apologies.
That's okay. When we had the last meeting, there were things that were read. Procedurally, I felt as a stakeholder, no one had an opportunity to read over what was read to the stakeholders. I'd like to see if we can go back, since we're going back on many things, and have a reread of exactly what was submitted and voted on, and have that re-looked at, because I would like to ask our board to strike things on there that I felt were not representative of the stakeholders, which had a lot of language and mitigating language, which goes in conflict with actually this motion that we're going to put forth, or that you're going to vote on. So I don't know how we can do this procedurally, but whatever gobbledygook was read, and I know it was worked very hard to create it, and I'm not discounting that, but whatever was read was never submitted to anybody before it was read on a projector that no one could read. So that was dimly lit and obtusely projected. Is there any way that we can speak to that after this motion? Because I do believe this comes in 2 parts. We are, as a board, you're putting forth a motion to vote on this project. But what else was submitted before that could possibly weaken that position? And I hope that could be spoken of. You look confused, Denise. Okay. Yeah, there was a huge document that was read to the stakeholders on that projector. Anyway, I'd like to know what that said, because no one still really, on a vast level, knew what it said before it was voted on, and if it could be revisited. Okay, that's my point. Thank you.
Yes, you have next is Barry Johnson.
I'm speaking on this item as Vice President of the SCRA and on behalf of Alan Diamond, who cannot be here tonight. And we just want to thank you for joining the SCRA in opposing this project. And frankly, the motion as written, I think, is very clear and precise and doesn't need to, nothing more needs to be said. If anything needs to be said is now is the time for this motion. The clock is ticking. Thank you.
Richard Adams. Richard.
I'd like to point out that nobody is more opposed to this project than me. I'm the person who came up with the name Save Coldwater Canyon and suggested they go for .org, but they didn't want to work with people. However, I've always been a person for the rule of law, and I'd like to read from the city attorney's stuff specifically. What specific public or written statements have been made? The common law rules of bias prevent any person from forming an unyielding position on a matter before it's decided. If it is, that doesn't mean you're not allowed to have opinions, but if it is a reasonable person, you are not able to be a fair and impartial, you're supposed to recuse yourself. With that in mind, I would like to ask that Eric Previn recuse himself from multiple articles on City Watch and elsewhere opposing this project prior to the vote. He's established he's biased. Craig Radow posted on Nextdoor, stating specifically in his post that he knew it would probably get him recused and he didn't care. And Heidi McCabe, bless her heart, is one of the board members of State Coldwater Canyon. If Alex has to recuse himself, these three do too.
I don't have to.
And if they don't, the vote will be challenged.
Thank you.
I am so
No, we're not,
angry. I don't,
okay. Heidi, it is not a time, sorry. Thank you. Next.
There is only one other speaker card, but they just are voicing opposition, but not requesting to speak. So that's
No,
it.
I think we have speaker cards from here.
I don't have.
She turned it into Richard.
We passed it down.
I'm
remember
sorry,
seeing
is
it.
that Lori Lizana?
Yes.
Sorry. Then there are two other speaker cards.
Laura, you want to come down?
Susan, yeah, says in front of her.
Hi, my name is Lori, and I'm speaking as a resident of Studio City. I've already submitted my letter, and I've talked to other friends of mine submitting their letters to all the people that were supposed to in regards to opposing or supporting the project. I'm just making an offer to this board and to whomever else is on the LA City Planning. I'm guessing you guys could contact
We're
them.
just,
Contact. What I want to do is I just want to make an offer to have people come onto my radio show to debate and discuss the issue, because I think that there's a lot of residents in Studio City that still aren't even familiar with this project, not to mention LA City and county in general. So just to bring awareness to the project in order to get the voices heard more, I'd like to make that invitation, and it's open to any Tuesday night. Anyone's available between now and when they make their decision. So I am on nextdoor.com, and some of you already know how to reach me. So if you guys want to think about it and let me know. Okay.
Thank you. Susan Hunter.
Susan Hunter.
Thank you so much. I just want to say firstly, I support your motion, mainly because, not as a person that lives in the area, but I do want to note that it does go against the idea of utilizing public transportation, which is interesting since that is something that Eric Garcetti is so much in favor for. Obviously, having dealt with similar situated with the Crossroads project that we were having a problem with in Hollywood in regards to meeting prior to the deadline of the public comment due, they did ask for an extension. I don't know that that has happened with this board, but you can tell them you need to extend it. Don't ask them, tell them they will extend it. They need to give the courtesy to the community, because this is a community project, not a planning department project. I would also very strongly recommend that somebody take the time to go down to City Hall, 5th floor, Automated Records, and ask to review the files of the CPC and the E&B. Because if I was somebody who wanted this project to go through, and especially if I was anywhere involved in the school, I would simply put out a petition, single sheet petition form, and just have every single parent sign it, so that way it would look as though there's an overload of people who are in support of the project. So I would strongly suggest that you go down to make sure and see how many actual comments are in the file that are actually in favor of this project. If there are a lot, then I would suggest strongly to make sure that discussion happens, as well as pushing back the hearing date, that anybody in the community who wanted to do something similar against the project would make sure to get as many single sheet petitions. I recommend single sheet and not the signatures sheet in the back, because in that way you actually stack. They have to file each one, so it makes the stack much bigger. So it looks like there's a lot more people who are opposed. Personal preference. I wouldn't recommend that anybody have to recuse themselves on this unless they really want to, because stakeholders and people who are on the on the neighborhood council still have a right to their own personal opinion. Thank you.
thank you.
That's it? Okay.
Any comments from the board?
We have Mr. Kinderberg.
No.
Yeah, on the final paragraph, I'm a little concerned with advising the applicant. We advise the council member, the council, and everybody else known to man, but not the applicant before us. Is it possible to reword that with having the same intent? I'm not trying to blunt it, I'm just saying that we don't advise applicants.
So would you say
We
suggest?
rule on applicants, we don't advise them.
Would suggest to the applicant? Suggest to the applicant?
Suggest.
Whatever, okay. I'm also a little concerned with the final thing within the boundaries. I don't want all of a sudden it to be considered to be a taking by the city council if they say no, because then they're gonna owe Harvard Westlake some money if they can't use the property at all. I'm not saying we change it, I'm just saying is that that's a danger out there. We don't want to have an eminent domain situation.
They own properties up there, so they own the property. So they should be able to use it for the way it's zoned.
For low intensity residential.
Any other
It
board
doesn't
comments?
say that.
Richard.
Use it in its zone, it's fine.
Guys, any other board comments?
Yeah. I propose that we strike the two words "as presented" so that it would read, testimony by stakeholders hereby opposes the project and advises the planning department staff should recommend against approval of the project and the planning. So I'm just taking out "as presented" because as presented, then all of a sudden they go, actually it's not 14 lights, it's 12 lights. And it's different. So I just think as presented is not helping us. It's just chuffa, but it could be used against the point.
Richard, is there any reason you had it as presented in there?
I mean, I think it's
good.
Yeah, I have no objection to removing that language. It is basically what was presented that we're voting on. So, I mean, that's why.
But that's also what we heard testimony on by all the stakeholders and all the other things.
My comment?
Hold on, yes, hold on. Richard, public comments on.
Okay, so I think the importance of having the as presented there is that we're not supporting what is there now. When the planning commission comes forward with its not planning commission, the planning department's report, the staff report on the project comes forth, we're going to have an opportunity to review that. We're supposed to get it 2 weeks before the hearing. And at that point in time, we will have something that is different than what we are voting on or what is before us now.
Well, I understand and I agree. I understand. Do you understand that?
Why as presented, because that's what's there now, and we will weigh in again at that point in time, because they could add things or delete things or change things. And we need to ask for mitigations potentially at that time. If it looks like that's the way they're leaning, we have to start putting in what things we would want to make this at least some bit palatable if they're going to shove it down the community's throat anyway. So that's the importance of the as presented language. It's what is before us right now.
That's not convincing to me at all because I don't understand why. I just don't see how that makes it stronger.
Really, guys.
Okay. All right.
We can oppose zone change for Wellington Golf and Tennis, we can oppose a zone change for this. That is within our purview.
True. Right. Okay, any more comments?
Just so Richard, do we have a game plan of how this is going to now be delivered? What's going to happen at this point?
We will get this to Milena Zazazian at the planning staff hearing officer.
In the morning.
Okay, we have a commitment to get it to her in the morning.
I don't know if it'll be in the morning, but it will go tomorrow because the letter has to be drafted and Denise has to agree with it, and then when it's approved, then I submit it. And I always get a response back from them acknowledging, and I'm happy to send out to the whole board so that they know that we got that in.
Thank you.
Does that answer
anything else? Should we vote on this?
I think we should vote on this.
So, well, we've got a couple,
friendly amendments.
I think we accepted one friendly,
Right,
amendment.
which was the requested that.
requested that in place of advises.
Right.
That,
To be stronger, we made it requested that.
And I think we did, as far as I could tell, we did not accept the as presented.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So let's vote on the amendment for this. Everybody who is in favor of this motion, please raise your hand.
Wait, is this to vote on
the amended motion?
Amendment?
On the amended motion.
No, on the entire motion.
The amended motion.
We're voting on the motion. Okay, everybody has their hands up. It is unanimous.
Unanimous.
Guys, that sounds great.
It took a while to read that.
It was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 4 weeks ago.
Thank you.
I know.
Semee.
I understand.
Yes, all right. Now,
All right, so that's
It's
it?
supposed to be
yeah,
balloons.
we have, we can run through.
Yeah, let's run through. Budget committee, I have nothing to say. I hope that everyone else has nothing to say. Just don't say anything. No one needs to hear everyone talk. Next.
Actually, I do have something to say.
Oh, good. Public, do we have public comment
We do
on that?
on.
This one is really fast.
Richard and Barry both have notes over mine.
I'm sure.
If it wasn't germane, I would have said thank you. My committee has been approached by stakeholders that want to have a discussion on how funding is done. So I'm asking you here, as during the meeting, I'll talk offline, obviously, to arrange it, but I would like some time with your committee. I think I'm actually on it, but I'll have to agendize it, to discuss this issue that's been brought forth and see if it's something that my committee and finance committee can come to some agreement on.
Sounds good to me.
Not much in the way of details, but just not time for it.
Gotcha,
Barry
Barry.
Johnson.
Barry? Oh, Barry passes. Okay, read it.
Wait.
Oh,
Pass me. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The Government Affairs Committee didn't meet this time because we had the special meeting, so I have no report. And there are 2 stakeholder comments, Barry and Richard.
okay. Barry? Okay, passed. Public safety, Craig, you're now.
I'm just, there will not be a public safety meeting on, in August. However, what I'm working on for September is I'm working with the fire captain of Firehouse 86 to do a meeting, gathering, family event at the firehouse in the first 2 weeks of September. We have a date calendarized right now, but feedback has been quite good, so I'm trying to make it on the weekend if possible so kids can go. So stay tuned for that.
Which
78
firehouse?
here.
The one on
89.
Vineland.
On Vineland?
Island? Okay. Is that ours?
Yes, it
Yes, that's Studio
is.
Story.
By the route.
Barely ours, yeah.
It's up to you.
Beverly Garland.
All right, Barry, you have anything for transportation?
I passed this out to all of you. It was a meeting I went to on Monday night, one of 3 being held in the city. It's a scoping meeting for sidewalks, and they're doing a draft EIR for the sidewalk repair program, which interestingly enough is already underway, but they're doing this anyway because it's a 30-year program, so I guess they figure. But it was interesting for me because John Walker, who used to be president of this neighborhood council, who lives across the street from me almost, he and his next door neighbor just replaced last week 100 feet of sidewalk under the program where you pay 50% and the city pays 50%. And the one neighbor had 2 magnolia trees that were this big around, and the sidewalk was totally broken up. And those trees, if we had the urban forestry guideline for trees that we have now, 70 years ago, those trees never would have been planted because they're too big for that parkway width. And that guide now says, plant this tree in your 6-foot wide parkway and don't plant that. John's sycamore, which is a native tree, interestingly enough, the city sidewalk people right away tagged it to be taken down. And he had very little breakup. And I was talking to him one day and I said, why are you taking that tree out? Well, the city says to. I said, John, you should go over to Burbank. They never take out trees. They root prune all the time. They have beautiful streets. They have beautiful sidewalks. So he appealed and he didn't have to take his tree out.
Great.
And it's still there.
Great.
Anyway, this is to address things like that, among other things. And just wanted to make you aware of it, and I'm going to follow it so we hopefully get some good sidewalks replaced. And the other one thing I was going to mention that the inspector who inspected this project was totally unaware of, that in the sidewalk specs PDF from the city, it says when new sidewalk is constructed adjacent to an existing sidewalk, scoring lines shall correspond to existing scoring. Those are the squares that are marked in your sidewalk. that maybe allowed you to play hopscotch or something when you were a kid. Well, I've seen in my neighborhood them replaced and they don't put the scoring marks in. So I went to this guy and I said, why aren't you putting it in? Oh, and I pointed this out to him, went to his supervisor, and the supervisor wrote me back, made them put in the scoring marks, and is getting out some email to every inspector in the city that they need to match the sidewalk to what the sidewalk is on either side. So, just a little tidbit.
Good job, Gary.
Thank you. First of all, we need an ad hoc committee on the sidewalk. Thank you, Denise, for sending out that email just recently, 3 days ago, regarding the sidewalk EIR, an open forum for people to speak up. We were going dark. We're still looking for a replacement for the sustainability chair, so I'd love it to be on your agenda from here on in to find a new candidate for that. And the reason why we held an August meeting is one of the Studio City stakeholders had some very high issues of importance, and we did come up with a motion. Unfortunately, that meeting was held last night, and we wouldn't have been able to get that motion in here, so we'll submit it, and it'll be part of September. And it does have a lot to do with our urban forest and urban canopy. So really would like to work with you, Barry. I'll talk to you about that afterwards. So we met last night. We did have a quorum. We lost one of our committee members, so we definitely had a quorum. I'll update you on that. Denise put the website. For the motions that we have for the last several months from April through June, one of those motions dealt with the basically the gas leaf blower program that is going forward right now. I just wanted to remind you all that although we got it in as an email reminder and it's been posted on Facebook and everything, there's another day for people to turn in their mowers every day. That's an annual program, and replace it with a electric one. And the gas leaf blowers that we're having a lot of problems with for the communities, we might do an ad hoc committee on this because there's some issues that are taking place locally that aren't being adhered to. So one of our motions, let me just go back. So one of our motions in June, Denise, I'd love for that email to go out to the people, part of the letter, to let Councilmember Krikorian follow up with LAPD, and possibly I could have a side conversation with our safety and public safety committee, because it does have a lot to do with LAPD's enforcement of the municipal code, which is the gas leaf blowers. So I could work with you tandemly on that, and then we could have that email go out. I know you've been busy, Rita. So I will resend.
Corresponding secretary?
Well, who?
That's John Crockout. He's out of town. He's not here tonight.
Okay, so if I send it to you and Denise, I have to copy John on those emails. So for all of those emails that I sent out to both of you, who've been sitting idle, is that what I hear? I should have. I have a phone number. That number is, let me know, and I will send it to him, but never seem to stop anything else from going out. So let's get those 3 emails out to John, and I will be happy to follow up with that. The National Wildlife Federation came to our meeting last night and spoke to us and presented an opportunity for the Studio City Neighborhood Council to be part of Urban Wildlife Week, which is October 15th to the 22nd. They're doing a walk along the Santa Monica Mountains for P22 Day, which is actually on the 22nd, and it's going to be held at Griffith Park. What they're asking the Studio City Neighborhood Council, since we're along the trail of the P22, where it came from and where it finally landed, which is Griffith Park. This is the second annual Urban Wildlife Week. We could have an opportunity to work with the tree people at noon on the 21st and do an outreach opportunity, as well as have a tabling event at Griffith Park and be part of the celebration, which they welcome anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 people. So it is October. Yes, sorry, I spoke fast. October 15th through the 22nd. So if this is something of interest, I could present this to you all. And there was another opportunity through the National Wildlife Federation. They have something called a certified wildlife habitat. Certified wildlife habitat. And they found it to be very interesting if it's a city park, such as the one along the CBS Radford. I don't think that's Santa Monica Mountains property. We could work with CD2 in designating that wildlife habitat, since they have native plants and so forth, and they have a wonderful plaque that would be placed up there. So that might be kind of interesting. Doing that also might help us enforce one of the motions that we put forth back in April, which is the synthetic pesticide motion, to stop the use of that in public space. So this might have a tandem good benefit for our community. So I'll just stop there and make a public announcement that for the board members on September 9th is the Congress Neighborhood Councils. Everybody's invited to attend, so if you haven't received anything, we hope you go. And that's it. So I think we'll have a September meeting, but I'll get the motion to you and follow up on the other letters.
Barry?
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Two things I want to clarify. P22 is the cougar that started way out towards Malibu or beyond, and why don't you get all the way to Griffith Park, getting through past two freeways to Live. And second of all, and I was going to mention this at Barry's, but somebody skipped my public comment. The city puts out this report months in advance. I think Jackie got it in March about which trees are being removed from the sidewalks, and yet the city public is only finding out 3 to 5 days ahead of what is basically a kangaroo court to have them removed. And amazingly enough, you'll be stunned to hear that the meeting's on weekdays downtown LA. So the information of what's getting removed is out there, and you can get it in a time. The city's getting it in a timely fashion, and one of our motions was to be that we should get it in a timely fashion, but the meeting was last night, no way to agendize it. So, that's all.
Yeah, I just want to address the leaf blower thing briefly, because I think we're all, and it's clear now that the gas ones are not good, and you should change them in for electric ones. But is there any kind of break you get is there a program where if the person brings it in, they get a discount, or not really? It's just get rid of the old?
Is there a price? No, for the gas leak
so there's
blowers.
not a rebate. I just want to go on from there. The part about notifying the police, you know, I'm not really keen on that, because I think that neighbors who have gardeners who maybe or are using glass blowers themselves should be outreached to be told, you know, they should be warned. So maybe we should print up some small, not elaborate, but like photocopies. And for the folks who might be interested in tuning the police into it, first they could try themselves, you know, put it in the mailbox saying, because I did it in my neighborhood just voluntarily and it worked. And the guy was so proud, he said, look, Mr. President, I replaced it. And I wasn't saying I'm going to have you arrested. I was saying I'm fairly sure there's a group of people coming to arrest you, sir, because that's how it feels. The website has got this leaf blower. You know, I'm waiting for, we warned you, which I think we were coming in a little late in the period of getting the notice out anyway. So I would just recommend that we try to find a way to tell people to do the right thing rather than cite them for $180, which is a lot of money if you're blowing leaves around. So, you know, that's what would be my recommendation. So
that could be something that we could work with outreach on as a notice.
A message, just do it. But, you know, I'm not sure that the people who are necessarily blowing leaves some maybe are getting our e-blast, some are not, you know, I don't know. But I feel like it would be good if people who know where it's happening and are annoyed could be armed with a nice little message as opposed to a, you know, the sergeant and a ticket, because that's what I think.
It's a citywide issue, and it should be part of a communication
not just a neighborhood council walking door to door, but it should be part of the vernacular and conversation. It's been on the books since 1998, so I don't think we're going to solve the problem, but if we bring light and education, like you said, the more we do, the more we get the supervisors to support this. I know when I spoke to the South Coast Air Quality Management District, who put on this lawnmower exchange and the gas leak lower rebate program, they can't enforce and educate people as to the unique laws pertinent to each of these cities or districts. But they welcomed us to go to the exchange programs and share whatever information we have to those people that come in and turn it in. But it is, the more education.
I'm just trying to say we want to tell people that don't do that rather than send them a big bill.
Yes, and I'm certain that the landscapers would be informed, and the homeowners, if they know that they could be defined as well, is part of that. So, yeah.
All right, thank you much. Commissioner Niederberg with Cultural Affairs and the bank.
Okay. First is the problem with the police having a board to approving their gas leak blower. I know I sound like a broken record, but until that's fixed in the ordinance, you're going to have the same problem because the police cannot prove that it is a gas leak blower.
Good point.
So I'm saying, not my business. What I'm just saying is, I put a lot of gardeners basically to cool it. It's a leak. Okay, getting back into coastal affairs. On September 23rd, we're having a seminar at the library dealing with the development of Studio City, including the special motion picture district, presented by Mary Mallory. She does a number of seminars down there, and our next one is September 23rd in the library. Then in October, the library has given us 12 slots for our October film series. We're probably going to use only 6 or 8 of them, but they gave us plenty of slots. And I do not have the movies released yet, but they're most likely going to be Universal, scary movies, or at least sci-fi movies, Included in our thing was Halloween. And so, of course, we're going to have some special movie on Halloween. I don't know which one we're going to be getting, basically, but it'll probably be very good. And that's basically when it comes to the movies. Again, you're talking about probably 6 or 8, and we have 12 slots we're available to fill. The other thing basically is that we're still putting together the Luminaria. I hope everybody is ready to volunteer to do their gig, basically. It'll be fun, we'll have fun, and I don't know exactly what else to say, basically. Just put it on your future calendars. Setting up the first Saturday of December. It happens on the first Sunday of December, and right now we're dealing with trying to get the fees for the parking lot be waived on that particular afternoon. I'm talking to people from the council office, that thing, and then also try to get a little reduction in cost, or at least get the city's portion waived, even though we can't get the county, we can't get Duke's, the society's thing waived, but maybe we can get the city's waived. It'll bring it down to a more reasonable cost. We don't expect a freebie, but we expect to give us a break. We're city, that city, and the city residents going to it. Having said that, that's about it. Is there any questions? Yes, I'm listening.
I hope you get some more Hitchcock films again.
So what?
Hitchcock films.
Okay, well that's Universal.
Yeah.
Universal are our prime source, basically, And of course, the other deal is that for Delta films, we donate them to the library, which to me is a really good idea. And just like the first of the 2 movies in the park, we donate anyway. I'm trying to get a clearance right now, except that Keith's not here, to donate the La La Land also, because the library should have these films. Even though they're not particularly library material, why not? Why give them as many DVDs they possibly can? It's good for the resident studio set. Having said that, is there any questions or yes?
Since you mentioned La La Land, what was the turnout for movies in the park this time? Because I know the first one was pretty successful. How was this one? Does anybody know?
Pretty successful.
It was very successful, except that
Okay,
the
that's good.
generator's
Good to
overheated.
know.
But
You can tell
we
the
had a
story.
generator failure, made the screen go down, so we had to fix it.
More sabotage.
It was,
He was told how to handle that, but okay.
okay, I understand that. But I think that part of the thing is that because we're running the cotton candy machine earlier, it draw a little more power there from the gas. You know, I'm not certain that's the reason, but it may.
That's an offline discussion.
Thank you. All right, Nate?
Bank report. Okay, in the 4 hours, there's nothing I really want to say basically. It's a long 4-hour meeting, but nothing was just resolved. They're just making sure that that the election happens in December 19th rather than 18th, and most of the rest of it basically was not significant enough to waste your time.
Thank you.
Any cookies? Do they have anything nice?
Or you need my bylaw? Okay. I thought you were asking me about public comment that I put in for. Silly me.
But you did give your comment about the turnout.
Not on bank, but that's okay. I didn't really, I would have passed, but it's nice to be asked. I was asked by LCD to re-mention one more time, Wednesday, August 3rd, from 5:30 to 7:30, how to choose a business entity. We got an area, a neighborhood full of, what?
The 3rd of August passed.
23rd?
23rd, okay.
Okay, I'm still doing old school math. Can I take my shoes off?
Sorry.
Never mind, we won't do that. Anyway, where was I?
Business.
We have a neighborhood full of entrepreneurs. For all I know, Claire's gonna have the next brilliant idea and be a millionaire, okay? The question is, how do you incorporate yourself to protect yourself legally? That's what this is all about. As a USC professor, good to know. I work for a lawyer. It's very important. What you pick and choose, if something bad happens with your product, you could lose everything you own because you incorporated it appropriately. Now, on to bylaws. As I said, we had something that was going to be germane. It was addressing an issue that the board has made perfectly clear they wanted addressed. It was a different way to go at the process without offending the Dunkoffs and everybody else. I had a quorum. The quorum didn't show up. Apparently, I now have to get another opening on my committee that will be addressed. I'm looking for people who are good with the English language, who love it, but not so much that they get carried away. We like nice, clear, concise language. We like detail-oriented people. We need people with time to pay attention. This coming meeting, we're going to go back to try to getting on our regularly scheduled meetings so we don't have to have specials. I have somebody who's taking the time, they're a parliamentarian, they're on my committee, and they apparently have a report that came through about the time the ad hoc committee that did an ad hoc was in process. And they've gone through and reviewed things and found places where things could be handled by Robert's Rules of Order, or this contradicts that, like the operating procedures versus the bylaws. And oh, by the way, I want to mention that at the very top of our operating procedures, it clearly states in the preamble that if there's a conflict between the operating procedures and the bylaws rule. So other than that, if any of you have free time and want to come have fun with the English language, please feel free to join bylaws. We like short meetings, we like concise meetings, and we don't have meetings just for the sake of having meetings.
Okay.
Any questions?
I have a question. I'm on bylaws, or at least I was. My time is just so taxed. What went on today with talking about bylaws and the way things were handled, I personally just cannot find myself being part of the committee any longer. I'm just stating my removal from bylaws. So I just wanted to make it official.
No problem. Anything I said here tonight, I said as a stakeholder.
All right, moving along. Okay, we have comments from members on subject matter within the board's jurisdiction. Okay.
Two things. One, of course, September 9th is the Neighborhood Council Congress downtown City Hall. Everybody's invited. I hope everybody goes there, meaning every board member, committee member, and everybody else could possibly be interested, basically. The food's okay. The seminars are pretty good, and so I would recommend to everybody who can possibly make it down to City Hall. It's a freebie,
What's the date?
you know, September 9th, that's September 9th, for the Congress Neighborhood Councils. I've been going to all of them since 1968, a long time, you know, and supposedly they get better. By the way, and of course, Gracie was put in power because everybody voted at that thing for her to do it, and the mayor kind of had to follow the political pressure to take the advice of all of the neighborhood councils to put Gracie in, and she got put in within 2 or 3 weeks. Other item is that on the 14th, they're having an event at Carla's Cafe, you know, a couple hundred feet from here, and I recommend everybody go this thing. We've already paid for it, and every single neighborhood council board member and a few, you know, what do you call it, committee chairs particularly are allowed to go to this. Basically, you already have parking. You can park right in front of the door as far as I'm concerned. Just be there. We've already paid for it, and you might actually have fun.
What day?
September 14th.
And food is provided.
Yeah.
Thursday. It's in lieu of the normal bank meeting. They're having it at Carla's Cafe this Thursday.
Thanks, Richard. Eric?
Yes, I just wanted to make, thank you, Richard. I just wanted to make 2 short announcements. One is I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but BID is having their street festival on the 19th. So that's this weekend. So I think it would be nice to support them and go.
We have a booth.
Great.
And Craig wants to bring his cotton candy.
Maybe do an
Is
e-blast.
Barry gonna, what's his name? Former president.
John?
Walker.
Yeah.
Walker's there.
Is he gonna allow me to bring my cotton candy?
You can bring your cotton candy.
Great.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a food thing. It's a food
This is
thing.
all Eric's 2 minutes.
But yeah, by the way, the cotton candy was a big hit at the
good.
park. The kids loved it, and it was very nice. Not just the kids. But the final thing is that you may not know because we can't enter because it would be a conflict, I think. But there's a Studio City summer writing contest for which Keith, with the library, the Friends of the Library, for which Keith Schollander did a very good little promo that has been on Facebook a little, but it's open until August 31st, so there's still 2 weeks, and they came back at Carpenter, so sent a note to the principal. You know, if you know people who are interested in writing and submitting it to a little contest, less than 2,000 words, you can do it at the library before August 31st at 8 p.m. Just bring it in, and then kick your name and so on and so forth. Could be great. And, you know, I think that the library is enjoying the fact that people are interested in that. And we handed out some flyers at the movies in the park, and that's my announcement. So.
Question for Eric. Do you know how, like, what's the cutoff age for this, and would it be
All ages, so you could fit into there's a section for you.
Cool.
Yep, there's
I
a
will
one.
get to it.
Exactly, yep.
What, Richard?
What?
Yes, I was going to say that we're going to bring the cotton candy machine. We also have popcorn, and we now also have snow cones, and all the flavoring, all the cups are already there. So if we're going to go for it and make it messy, let's just give our stakeholders a choice.
You're talking about for when?
Saturday.
Right. I know I will, you can count me in to do the cotton candy or whatever on Saturday.
Well, you do all for it, I'm concerned.
I just want to say, if anyone on the board wants to apologize for the actions of the last couple of weeks, I think that will be a big step in turning the page and moving on, at least for me.
Also, the other thing is John also invited me to be at the table and make sure that it's populated correctly. One more thing, and that is that the library still has our exhibit from the pictures. They have not asked us to take it away.
Does anyone else over there have anything else to add? Your 2 minutes? Anyone? Cool.
Okay, move to adjourn. Oh, no, closing comments.
We have a booth, and we need people to help work the booth. That's it. Okay, but it would be nice, and there will be food at this event. And I guess they got a drink to show up and chat too.
Where is the booth located?
It's exactly where they have farmers market. I don't know where it is yet. We have to find out. We'll find out.
Motion to adjourn, yeah?
We are adjourned.